100 years ago, if you wanted to know what was happening in your community, you would pick up a newspaper. Today, everything we want to know is right at our fingertips. At the start of the 20th century, the only place where someone could get the latest news was from a newspaper. Professional journalists would gather the news and write their stories. The newspaper would be typeset and printed, and finally it would be delivered to newsstands, vending machines, or your front door. Some cities had both morning newspapers and afternoon newspapers to bring their readers the most up-to-date news and information. Journalism expanded with the invention of radio and then television. Instead of waiting for the next issue of the newspaper to come out, people could just tune in once or twice a day and get the very latest news, which now included actual audio and video interviews and footage of news taking place. But even with this faster technology to deliver information, it was still sometimes difficult to learn about breaking news events as soon as they happened. Then, in the 1990s, the internet boom caused another shift in how people get their news. Journalism went digital. Instead of turning on a TV to get your news, you can have breaking news alerts sent to you directly to let you know what the biggest headlines are, almost as soon as events happen, any time of the day or night. You can read a newspaper on your smartphone or look at a news feed to see what topics are trending. How are journalists keeping up with these changes in how we expect to get our news?
The kind of old school way of covering news was a reporter goes to a scene, takes notes, goes back to the newsroom, writes a story, then an editor edits it, gets laid onto the paper, and then the next day you see the story. But that's not the way the world works anymore.
Now, if there's that house fire, it's instantaneous. It's got to be on the web right away. It has to be in people's phones right away. It has to be on the radio right away. We have a breaking news team of editors and reporters and photographers listening to fire calls, police calls, sheriff's calls across a several county area. They're listening to news tips that come in over the phone from Twitter and Facebook. Every few minutes they're updating the headlines, and they need fresh content constantly. So in the case of, say, the house fire, they hear it on the scanner, immediately they start making decisions. Our newsroom contains print people, radio people, TV people, and digital web people. Sometimes the breaking news team will cover that story for all of those different platforms. Other times they're letting other editors know, we're taking the story this far, you take it from here, and then they're moving on to the next breaking news story, because there's always another house fire somewhere. And as soon as they're done with that one, they move on to the next one.
The biggest thing when you serve multiple platforms is figuring out if a story can be told in both platforms. For TV, it requires a lot of visuals. For a newspaper, it requires a lot of facts. But for me also, that includes radio and social media. So while we were filming and getting the footage that we needed, I was sending out a tweet, posting something on Facebook with a photo that we were on scene. We got that information to our breaking news team, who then posted it on all of our websites. And then I called into our radio station and left them information so that our radio station could also have a quick bite for me that they could run with updates about this story. So it was a lot of things happening in a very small amount of time, which is why a cell phone is probably any journalist's greatest tool right now, a smartphone, cell phone. Everything is much faster. Everybody expects instant news. And it's made media immensely competitive among other stations, among other newspapers. You're always trying to beat everyone to get the information out there and be the first one, but also be the accurate one, because we have seen how the internet has also made it so that people are so quick to post something that they don't always make sure it's right. So that's the challenge for journalists today. It's quick, it's fast, and media is always changing, so you have to keep up with it.
What we write has to be true. It has to be sourced, it has to be checked, it has to be verified. So it lives in a very different space from what a lot of people are doing in social media. Yet at the same time, there's also a lot of very basic journalism that's made possible by social media, and we shouldn't forget that. People are out in the world taking pictures of things that they're seeing and tweeting the photos. Now there's an immediacy, there's a speed, there's a closeness to events that anybody with a smartphone in their pocket can become a journalist for a moment. People tweet that photo, write 140 characters about what they saw, what it felt like, what it smelt like, what it sounded like, and suddenly they're reporting. It's sort of journalism on the fly, and it's creating a whole new world of storytelling.
While new technology is making it easier for journalists and news outlets to interact with their audience, fundamentally, the work of the journalist hasn't changed. They may use different tools today than they did in the past, but journalists still bring us news, opinion, and features that keep us informed on what is happening around us, and also enrich our lives.